Hello everyone. Today we are going to learn about the executive, that is one of the organs or branch of the Indian government. In this video, we are going to discuss about the qualifications and process of election of members of the Union Executive, that is President, Vice President, Prime Minister and his Council of Ministers. Powers and functions of the executives, roles and responsibilities of the Cabinet and Council of Ministers. Here we'll move further to have a look of all the presidents of India from 1950 to 2020. Here I'll start with the first president of India after the independence, that is Mr. Rajendra Prasad, Mr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, Mr. Zakir Hussain, Mr. V.V. Giri, Mr. Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed, Mr. Sanjeeva Reddy, Mr. Gyani Jail Singh, Mr. Ramaswamy Venkataraman, Mr. Shankar Dayal Sharma, Mr. K.R. Narayanan, Mr. APJ Abdul Kalam, Mrs. Pratibha Patil, Mr. Pranab Mukherjee, Mr. Ram Nath Kovind from 2017 to till date. Here we'll move further. The three organs of the Indian government are the legislature, the executive and the judiciary. While the legislature makes laws, it is the responsibility of the executive to implement the laws. The executive in India consists of the president, the vice president, the prime minister and his or her council of ministers. They form the political executive. They are assisted by a team of civil servants who form the permanent executive. As I said before, the Union Executive carries out the laws made by the Parliament. Now we'll move ahead to learn about the executive wing in detail. So we'll start with the president. The president is the head of the state of India and commander-in-chief of the Indian Armed Forces. He or she is the constitutional head in whose name the administration of country is run. However, she has only the nominal powers. The real powers of the administrations are vested with the Prime Minister and his or her Council of Ministers. The President is bound to follow their advice. The official residence of the President of India is the Rashtrapati Bhavan or President House, which is located in New Delhi. To become the President of India, a person must be a citizen of India, be at least 35 years of age, have all the qualifications required to be a member of the Lok Sabha, mentally sound, registered voter, and not hold an office of profit under the union or state governments or any local body. The President is elected for a term of 5 years by an electoral college consisting of members of both houses of parliament and the members of the state legislative assemblies who cast their votes by secret ballot. Parliament can impeach President for violation of the constitution, corruption or treason. There are the procedure to impeach or remove the president. A written notice signed by more than 1/4 of the total numbers of members of the house is submitted. Once it is received after the 14 days, a resolution is moved. The resolution is passed by the majority, that is more than 2/3 of the total members of the house. The change is sent to the other house for investigation. President need to be present for investigation. After the investigation, if the charge is proved right and passed by 2/3 of the total numbers of the house which investigated, then the president is removed. Now we'll discuss the powers of the president. The president is the head of the Indian state. He or she has a wide range of powers. These may be broadly divided into executive, legislative, and emergency powers. Here we'll learn the executive powers in brief. The President of India appoints. The leader of majority party is the Prime Minister. The Union Ministers on the advice of Prime Minister. Governors of the state. Judges of the Supreme Court and High Court. Ambassador to other countries has to be informed of all the decisions of Council of Ministers by the Prime Minister, and he has the powers to pardon an offender and reduce or annul a court sentence. Here we'll move ahead to learn the legislative powers. The President can summon or prorogue the Parliament sessions. He addresses the opening sessions of the Parliament every year, dissolve the Lok Sabha and order fresh elections, call a joint session of both houses of the Parliament to resolve a deadlock over a bill, withhold his signature to a bill that has passed by both houses of the Parliament and send it back to the legislature for reconsideration. However, on the second time, he or she is obliged to sign it. Next, nominate 12 members to Rajya Sabha and 2 members from the Anglo-Indian community to the Lok Sabha. He issued ordinances when Parliament is not in session. Next, we'll learn about the emergency powers of the President. The Constitution of India empowers the President to proclaim 3 kinds of emergencies. First one, national emergency, when the security of country is threatened by external aggression or internal rebellion. Second one, emergency for the failure of constitutional machinery in a state. If a state government is not run according to constitutional laws, President rule can be imposed on that state. Next one is a financial emergency, if there is a threat to financial stability of the country. However, the emergency cannot be declared by the President without the consent of the Parliament. Now we'll move to the military powers. The President is the supreme commander of the armed forces. He or she is entitled to declare war or conclude a treaty. Military treaties and contracts are made in the President's name. Here we'll discuss the judicial and pardoning powers of the President. As mentioned in Article 72 of the Indian Constitution, the President is empowered with the powers to front pardons in the following situations. Punishment is for an offence against union law. Punishment is by a military court. And sentence is that of death. When we are discussing about the judicial power, the President can reduce or suspend a sentence of a person who has been found guilty, or she can also pardon a death. And the President dismisses the judges if the 2 houses of the Parliament pass resolutions to that effect by 2/3 majority of the members present. Financial powers. The budget is presented in the Parliament in the name of President. The President's permission is necessary to introduce all money bills in the Parliament. No proposal for spending money or raising revenues for purpose of government can be introduced in Parliament without prior permission of the President. And in case of an unforeseen expenditure, the President can sanction an advance to the government from the contingency fund. After discussing about the President, now we'll move to the Vice President. The Vice President of India is the second highest constitutional office in India after the President. To be elected as a Vice President, a person must be a citizen of India, not be less than 35 years of age, not hold any office of profit, have all the qualifications required to be a member of Rajya Sabha. The Vice President is elected for the term of 5 years. The Electoral College to elect a person to the office of the Vice President consists of all members of the both houses of the Parliament. The Vice President is the chairperson of the Rajya Sabha. Now we'll learn some more facts. The Vice President takes the place of the President if she falls ill, if he resigned, is away from the country, or has died and a new President is yet to be elected. Now again I'll take you to the flashback to have a look of all the Prime Ministers of India from 1947 to 2020. So the first one is Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru, first Prime Minister of India after the independence. Second, Mr. Gulzarilal Nanda. Third one, Mr. Lal Bahadur Shastri, Mr. Gulzarilal Nanda. Next, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, First Lady Prime Minister of India, Mr. Moraji Desai. Next one, Mr. Charan Singh, again Mrs. Indira Gandhi, Mr. Rajiv Gandhi, Mr. Vishwanath Pratap Singh, Mr. Chandrasekhar, Mr. P.V. Narasimha Rao, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Mr. H.D. Devgowda, Mr. Indra Kumar Gujral, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Mr. Manmohan Singh, and the next one, Mr. Narendra Modi from 2014 till now. Here we'll discuss about the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister of India is the head of the government and the leader of the executive wing of the government. The power that are nominally vested in the President are actually exercised by the Prime Minister. The President must act on his or her advice. The Prime Minister's position is the most important political position in the country. The Lok Sabha is elected anew every 5 years. It consists of the members belonging to the different political parties. The leader of the majority party in the Lok Sabha is called by the President to become a Prime Minister and form the Council of Ministers. As I said before, I am repeating, the Prime Minister is the most powerful person in the government. Now we will discuss the qualifications of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister must be a citizen of India, mentally sound, registered voter, no criminal record, be a member of the Lok Sabha or the Rajya Sabha. Be above 25 years of age if he or she is a member of Lok Sabha, or above 30 years of the age if he or she is a member of the Rajya Sabha. Not hold any office of profit under the government of India or the government of any state. After the general election, when the new Lok Sabha is constituted, the President of India appoints a leader of the party or alliance which gets majority in the Lok Sabha as the Prime Minister of India. In case no party gets majority, the President appoints a leader of the largest party or alliance as the Prime Minister. The full term of Prime Minister is 5 years. However, the term can end sooner if he or she loses the vote of confidence in the Lok Sabha. The Prime Minister can also resign by writing to the President. After discussing about the Prime Minister, his qualifications, now we'll move to learn the powers and role of the Prime Minister. Constitutionally, the post of Prime Minister is the most important post in the country. His or her functions include the following. He acts as link between the people, the Parliament and the President. He or she communicates all the decisions taken by the Council of Ministers and the Legislature to the President. Advises the President on the discharge of his or her duties. The President is obligated to functions under the advice of the Prime Minister. Selects members of Parliament to the Council of Ministers, distributes portfolios amongst the Council of Ministers, acts as a link between the different departments of the government, and oversees the smooth functioning of each. Can demand an expansion of the cabinet or the resignation of any minister. With real power comes a lot of responsibility. The Prime Minister is answerable to the people of India for the success or the failure of his or her government. After learning and discussing about the Prime Minister, his qualifications and functions and powers, now we'll move further to learn about the Council of Ministers. After the Prime Minister is appointed by the government, he or she selects his or her Council of Ministers from among the members of the Parliament. The Council of Ministers are appointed by the President of India. The Council of Ministers is the most powerful organ of the Union Executive. It is headed by the Prime Minister and includes cabinet ministers, that is minister holding most important portfolios. Second, minister of state, minister who do not have independent charge of any department and work under a cabinet minister. And that only minister of state with independent charge is also there, that is in charge of a smaller ministries. The third one, deputy minister, ministers who work under a cabinet minister or ministers of state with independent charges. The prime minister assign each minister with a department or a portfolio. The prime minister may call for resignation of any minister at any time. In case of a refusal, he may advise the president to dismiss the minister. The council is collectively responsible to parliament and the ministers hold office as long as they enjoy the confidence of parliament. It is responsibility of the council of the ministers to formulate concrete proposals for legislation, aid and advise the president in his or her functions through the prime minister. Some of the important powers of the council concern the impeachment, that is removal from the office for misconduct of the president, removal of judges of the Supreme Court or the High Court, and amendments of the Constitution. After discussing about the Council of Ministers and the functions, I'll throw some light on Cabinet. The Cabinet is the inner circle of the Council of Ministers. They hold the highest rank and are responsible for the most important decisions and policies of the country. The real executive power is held by the Cabinet. The Cabinet is collectively answerable to the Lok Sabha that exercise control as part of its legislative duties. The Cabinet can remain in office as long as it enjoys the support or confidence of Lok Sabha. If Lok Sabha passes a vote of no confidence against any of the ministers, the whole Council of Ministers must resign. Thus, the member of the Council Minister swim and sink together. Here at the end, we are going to discuss the distinction between the Council of Ministers and the Cabinet. The Council of Ministers is a large body, it meets occasionally, whereas the Cabinet is a small and cohesive group which meets regularly. The Prime Minister may not consult the Council of Ministers for taking important decisions, but the members of the Cabinet are consulted by the Prime Minister on every important issues. Third, the reality it is not Council of Ministers that advises the President, though the Constitution assigned the responsibility to it. But in day-to-day governance of the country, it is Cabinet that advises the President. Fifth, Council of Ministers is a bigger wheel, whereas the Cabinet is a wheel within the wheel and it has also an inner cabinet.